Here we're walking into the guest room. We've taken everything off the walls, gotten everything out of it, and we're going to be painting later. And in here we'll go to the living room.
It was the summer of 2009. An extreme makeover, Jeremy edition, finally transitioned from the planning to the construction phase.
And things were starting to fall apart, starting to need some repair. It had been a long time since they'd been painted, the carpet was getting run down, things like that. And so as a family, we all kind of started thinking about it and started looking into it and thinking that we needed to get something done.
Jeremy can break things that were indestructible. And consequently, his home was starting to show. And thanks to his brothers and sisters, we decided to undertake that project. And it was a lot of work. We had a tremendous amount of help from people. Otherwise, I don't know that we could have gotten it done like we did, but the end result is it was very, very nice, and I think Jeremy is extremely proud of his home and is very comfortable in it.
That week nearly 2 years ago encapsulated so much about Jeremy Briggeman. His family had rallied together to help him with some major home remodeling, and in the process, so many from around Pratt showed up to lend a hand. This is the way of things for Jeremy. His story is not about a man stricken since birth with cerebral palsy, but rather it's about someone who spent 4 decades overcoming obstacles, inspiring with his attitude, and becoming a beloved figure in a town full of admirers willing to drop everything to help him out. Family and a tight hometown community. It's behind these two constants that Jeremy has become the man he is today, the one turning 40, encircled by relatives and friends, and in the town that is as much his home as that refurnished house on Washington Street. Bob and Nancy Briggeman were a young couple 40 years ago when they welcomed their first child into the world. They couldn't have possibly known the unique challenges that would await them, but in the end, it wouldn't have made a difference. They welcomed and raised Jeremy in just the same manner as the 3 kids who would come later.
It's your child, it's your baby, and you love him, and no matter what, it's your baby and you love him, and you just believe that God never gives you anything that you can't handle.
Now, Jeremy's always been a happy guy, although the first 5 or 6, 7 months of his life, we didn't really know how happy he was because he was either laughing or crying. There was no in between. He was without a doubt our most frustrating baby to deal with, but everybody survived.
It helped that he had three siblings because we couldn't just focus everything on him and baby him, and that was just the family was just a blessing to him, and you just kind of do what comes natural.
We just devised ways to include Jeremy. And the neat thing about Jeremy was he was as happy to do that, whether it be put balls into the pitching machine or carry the calf bottles, pull them in his wagon. He just figured out a way, we figured out a way that he could be involved, and Jeremy has always felt like he was a part of it.
Even in a town the size of Pratt, Jeremy never lacked for special services. He took speech, physical, and occupational therapy, and the town helped send him to Florida for a special operation. One of his teachers, Donna Klima, grew so close to Jeremy that she agreed to babysit for a week. Not long after meeting Jeremy's Uncle Warren on the farm, Donna Klima became Donna Briggeman.
Donna was a huge influence on Jeremy's life.
And Dick McCall the principal had a very special relationship with him too. If we ever had a fire drill, I always knew ahead of time, so he'd come and get Jeremy and put Jeremy in the wagon, and they'd go out ahead of time before they rang it. But I can remember the kids just really liking Jeremy. Roger Culver especially wished that he could be Jeremy, which, but he thought Jeremy was a well-loved kid and, had lots of family and friends.
Always a sports fan, Jeremy found a way to be part of the Pratt High Greenbacks by serving as the basketball team's manager. His time on the bench became the defining experience of his time in high school.
Coach Schoen and Andy Kisner welcomed him as the basketball manager, and they gave him jobs to do, timing guys, and just he felt like a real part of that team, and he still does.
That without a doubt was very huge for Jeremy. And we also realized that it didn't happen without the efforts of a lot of people.
They went out of their way to take him to out-of-town games and just made him feel like one of the guys.
I remember being there for the homecoming game. They did a special announcement at the homecoming halftime. And part of the announcement was Jeremy being announced. They were basically recognizing him as being the manager of the team. And I just remember the pride that I saw in him when he was walking across. He was, at that time, not using a walker or anything like that. And he walked out on the court and shook the hands with everybody and took the recognition, and then walked over to the bench, and the standing ovation that he got. That was pretty neat.
From early on, Jeremy always enjoyed the machinery. He loved riding on the tractor. And as soon as he was capable, he started driving the mower. And it was something that he got very good at. And it has just developed into, again, a service that Jeremy can do that does give him self-worth. Plus, it does give him some additional income. Is it a big money maker for Jeremy? No. But it does give Jeremy something to do that is probably just as important as the income that it derives.
Jeremy's mowing business has been going strong for more than 20 years and has included dozens of homes, parks, and businesses around Pratt and Iuka. The only hiccup came thanks to one certain younger brother whose priorities didn't exactly line up with Jeremy's when they were business partners in this mowing enterprise.
I remember he came home one day, "Mom, Brent got us fired." He has always just been a very, he takes his work very seriously.
Like so many other things, Jeremy's mowing, and his ability to do it independently, speaks to the importance of the Pratt community in his day-to-day life.
And so for him to be able to get in his golf cart and pulling his lawnmower down to the next spot where he's got to mow, to go to the power plant, to be able to go clear across town and mow places, the park and things like that, and to know that everybody's kind of watching out for him. And in fact, sometimes it kind of frustrates him because everybody in town is looking out for him and lets us all know what's going on.
After brief stops in Wichita and Hutchinson, which only strengthened Jeremy's affection for his hometown, he returned to Pratt and was living in an apartment when he got an itch for home ownership.
He wanted a dog. He wanted to have a house with a yard and a fence so that he could have a dog. And when that house came up for sale, Jeremy said, do you think there's any way I could buy that house? And so it just all fell in place for him.
In 2002, the changing dairy industry left Bob in a position where he knew he needed to relocate from Pratt to western Kansas. Doing so meant making the decision about whether to take Jeremy to Garden City or trust that he could stay on his own in Pratt.
He said, I'm leaving Pratt over my dead body. He pretty much made the decision for us. He said, "Mom, this is my home. This is where people know me. If I move, I'll have to start all over again." if people don't know me, they don't understand.
Whether it's his mower, or whether it's working on his house, or completely tearing out the front porch and putting in a concrete ramp, which Mom and I knew nothing about until we got there. Jeremy has always had just a tremendous amount of support from people that care.
Or when I said, Nancy, think about it, anybody, whatever, doesn't matter what your level of capabilities are or whatever, if you don't know the answer to something or if you need help, you call somebody. That's what he does.
His capability of being able to travel on his own in the city and to go to football games and to go to basketball games and things like that, which he just thoroughly enjoys, probably would not be possible if Jeremy didn't live in Pratt. So to Pratt, we say thank you.
And it just seems like guardian angels. My friend shows up that they're in Pratt, and I just feel like, I don't know, it's just where God intends for him to be.